Chelik Gimel. We are on page 266, 267. I think we're on paragraph Daled. Yes, paragraph Daled. Okay, paragraph Daled. Is that where we are? Yes. Yes. Okay, paragraph Daled. What have we said right up to now? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We see that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he unified two polar opposites. Two polar opposites. Okay, let's start off in the beginning. In order to talk about that, two polar opposites. First of all, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, on my day of passing, Lag BaOmer, you have to be happy. You have to be happy. It has to have a very happy day. Why? Because all of the service that he served his whole life, and this refers to anybody, but especially Rabbi Shimon, was all brought into revelation on the day that he passed away. And Rabbi Shimon's service that he served his whole life was higher than anybody else's. We learned the mimer about that also, that his pupils used to praise him and say, you're the face of God. Rabbi Akiva said that only me, Rabbi Akiva said about himself, only me and God know how great you are. You're greater than, he was greater even than Rabbi Meir. So if so, the service of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai when he was alive was incomparable to all the rest of the Tanaim. When he passed away, it was the revelation of all this was in the world. That's why Lag BaOmer is such a happy day, because what was the point of Rabbi Shimon's service? Like we said yesterday, to bring something infinite into the world. We talked about this yesterday. That's also the secret of the raising of the dead. The raising of the dead is that we'll realize that in fact there's no such thing as death. Since there was the sin of the golden calf and the sin of Adam, before that, the sin of Adam eating from the tree, so it was death brought into the world. But death is an additional thing. It's really not supposed to be here. And when a person feels God, it says at Mount Sinai, when everybody felt God, they felt the Anochi, so there was no death. It says death went away. And when people started saying, there's one Anochi as God, but there's another Anochi, which is me, then all of a sudden death came back. Rabbi Shimon wanted to get rid of this, and that's why the day that Rabbi Shimon passed away is not really the day that he died. It's the day that he revealed the secret of true life in the world. Okay. So we said that Rabbi Shimon, there's two things. Oh, and he brought this story. He brought the story about the pupil of the Arizal, that he used to mourn the Holy Temple and say this prayer, Nachem, and that he said it also on Lag BaOmer, went up at the Meron, Lag BaOmer, and he mourned for the temple and he got punished. So the Rebbe says, from here we can see these two polar opposites. On one hand, Rabbi Shimon was the highest of the high, and on the other hand, he wants everybody to be happy, even the simplest and the lowest of the low. Everybody has to be simple. Says the Rebbe, we can also see this another time. There's an argument between him and Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Yishmael said that people have to learn the Torah, but they have to work. They have to work in the world. They have to do regular jobs, and then in your free time, you learn Torah. So Rabbi Shimon, what are you talking about? Rabbi Shimon said a person has to learn Torah all the time, non-stop. And what about your material needs? Hashem will take care of it. Well, Hashem is not the king. So it says a lot of people tried to do like Rabbi Shimon, and it didn't work. Because you have to be at a very special level in order to really learn the Torah with true intention all the time. We see in the beginning of the Tanya, it says that Rabbah, that he learned the Torah with such devotion and such genuineness constantly that he said he couldn't die. The angel of death couldn't kill him. Right in the beginning, Tanya. So this is what Rabbi Shimon brought into the world, this tremendously high level. And people can't get to this level. On the other hand, the same Rabbi Shimon that said everybody has to learn all the time, you should never stop, he said, but those people who can't learn all the time, if they just say, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, 6 words in the morning and 6 words in the evening, then that's it. They don't have to learn anymore. How could it be? So we see that Rabbi Shimon said this. It's as though they learned the Torah all day. If you can't do any better, then so that we see that Rabbi Shimon took the highest and he brought it down to the lowest. Okay. Why is it? Because Rabbi Shimon said, me and my son, Rabbi Eliezer, our Torah learning, right, that's good enough to keep the whole world going. We're how do you say, filling the void that the other people in the world don't learn Torah. When they don't learn, our learning Torah does. It's such a high level. Okay. Here we go. Yes. Let's see if this is the story here. Here we go. All right, let's go. Dalet. Yeterim is even more lozu bilavad. Not only that Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai drew down the infiniteness of the Torah into the world, al pi Torah, ki al pi Torah hari asafta deganecha v'dailo olam niva'ata. According to the Torah, is you have to work. Elashagam tikun ba'olam, but he not only did he fix up, he learned merit on all the Jews that can't learn Torah, but also he fixed up the world itself. Shetikun shayech hari rak b'davar she'enu kashura. That Rabbi Shimon, he actually fixed up the world. They say, we'll see. Why? Lo she'aya opened the kasher ra'ah. Rabbi Shimon fixed up the physical world. People had physical problems, he took care of them. How so? Not just if somebody came to them, he fixed it up. Ela ba'atzmo, he looked for things that he could fix up. Did we say this before? No, yeah. Ika milsa, the boy latikun. It says that when Rabbi Shimon, after he was 13 years in the cave, he came to the city of Tiberia, and he asked over there, is there anything that I can fix up? Ha'im yesh ba'olam davar shadorish tikun. And they said, yes, there's big fields where we don't know where dead people are buried. And the Kohanim, they can't go there because they don't know. And he went and he felt with Ruach HaKodesh where the dead people were buried. He made markers there so the Kohanim could walk there, because a Kohen is not supposed to pass over a dead body. In this place where there was a doubt, if there was impurity there, the opposite of purity, the opposite of life is impurity of death. Rabbi Shimon went and he verified where the dead bodies were buried, made a marker so that the Kohanim could avoid those places. What type of impurity did Rabbi Shimon reveal? The worst impurity, the impurity of death. Avi avos atum, which is called the grandfather of impurity. Tuma chamora biyoter, the worst type of impurity. Makam zetikan Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, and this is where Rabbi Shimon fixed up, and he made a place where the Kohanim could go, a dira, a dwelling place, not just for the Jews, and not just for the Levites, but even Kohanim could go there. Even Kohanim, the highest level of purity, Rabbi Shimon brought to places where there was impurity. Mataya Yocha Rabbi Shimon l'redet l'taken. When did Rabbi Shimon able to do this? We said his whole life he was learning Torah. He was supposed to be learning Torah all the time. How did he have time to go around and find where dead bodies were buried under the ground? He went, but he found where these dead bodies were with Ruach HaKodesh, with holy inspiration. He didn't dig. He didn't have some sort of a tool. It was his own senses. When did he have time to do this? When did he develop this ability that he wanted to help everybody and purify what was impure? When? Only after he was in this cave for 13 years and he rose up to the highest of possible levels. When he was in the 13th year in the cave. Only then, because he was the highest, he was able, not only to come to the world, but also to fix up everything that needed fixing. Okay, and I'll tell you a story. The story we're going to learn when tomorrow or next week we'll learn the Sicha about Rabbi Shimon. So we'll go over it again. But it's a story I think that's worth. It's a beautiful story. There's a story that Rabbi Shimon's pupils came up to him, and they said to him, that we saw one of the other pupils had gone wherever outside of Israel, and he came back with a fortune of money. And the other pupil said, what do we have to live in this poverty for? We can also go out and make money, and we'll come back, and then, we'll build a nice big yeshiva for Rabbi Shimon, and maybe more people will listen to him, have all this money. So Rabbi Shimon said, you want money? So they said, well, we were thinking, so he said, okay, come with me. So he took them to this big valley. And he said, valley, fill up with golden coins. And all of a sudden, it was filled up with golden coins. Billions of dollars, who knows? And that's according to what it was back then, right? Yeah, there was a billion. So everybody said, well, this is really amazing. You see, it really pays off. Torah really pays off, especially this Kabbalah stuff. You'll make a good living on it. He said, but one thing is, whatever you take in this world, whatever you take now, it's going to be missing from your place in heaven after you die. You want it? So they said, no, forget it. We don't want it. End of the story. The Rebbe brings another story, which happened hundreds of years later, that there was a rabbi called Rabbi Shimon Bar Chalafta. There's also a similar story told with Hanina ben Dosa, but that his wife used to nag him all the time because they were so poor. So he went out into the field and he said, God, I'm very poor. My wife is driving me crazy. It's bad enough I don't have any money. I don't have any peace of mind. If my wife thinks I'm a loser, I'm a terrible person, do me a favor, God. Do a miracle. Give me some money. You got money. All of a sudden, a hand came out from heaven and it gave him a diamond. And so he went back to his wife and he said, here's a diamond. We're going to be rich. She said, where'd you get this from? He said, listen, come on. You had to complain about everything. I got the money. Come on, be happy and leave me alone. I want to just sit and learn Torah. She said, where'd you get them? Where'd you get from? So he said, I went out to the field and I prayed and God gave it to me. She said, go give it back. You're going to go up into heaven and everybody's going to have a crown. Your crown is going to be missing one of these diamonds. Like I said, there's a story about Rabbi Shimon Bar Chalafta with a leg also. So he said, okay. So he goes back and he says, listen, Hashem, you don't have a wife, so you got to understand me. So he put his hand up and a hand came out from heaven and took the diamond back. Rabbi brings the story. So it says in the Talmud that the second miracle was bigger than the first miracle. That God taking it back, because God only gives. He doesn't take back. That's what it says. God only gives, he doesn't take back. What does it mean? People die? No, God just stops giving us life. He gives us life, then he stops. God can stop. But he doesn't take things back. That God took back the diamond, that was a bigger miracle than the first. Asked the Rebbe a question. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, let's go back to that story. This valley filled up with gold. We don't see that afterwards the gold stayed there. Obviously, God must have taken the gold back. Nobody used that gold. Why doesn't it say in the story of Rabbi Shimon the same thing? The second miracle that the gold disappeared, because it must have disappeared, the gold disappeared. It doesn't even tell us the gold disappeared and that it was a miracle. It just stops in the story that Rabbi Shimon. So the Rebbe says, because the whole point of Rabbi Shimon was not the second miracle about God taking things back. The thing about Rabbi Shimon was to manifest godliness in this physical world. That was the thing. That was Rabbi Shimon's whole thing. Rabbi Shimon Bar Chalafta also did the same thing. He also manifested God in the world, but that wasn't his main thing. So therefore they say the second miracle was bigger than the first. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Chalafta, it happened one time. But Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, his whole essence was to reveal the essence of God in this physical world. And that's what he told the pupils. He told the pupils, you want this money? You want the money? You'll be missing something in the world to come, right? There's things that are much more valuable in this physical world than money. If you're thinking about money, then I'll tell you something more valuable is what's going to be in the world to come. There's something more valuable than both of them, said Rabbi Shimon. Revealing the essence of God in this world. And that's the main thing of Rabbi Shimon. Therefore, it didn't tell about the second miracle. Let's go. So that's the same thing with us, to reveal Mashiach in this world. There'll be plenty. It says Mashiach will come. There'll be plenty. There'll be money and everything. And people won't care. It says Madanim Ka'afar. All the fine things will be like dirt. People won't care. Everybody will drive the nicest car. Who cares? Nobody will care what type of car they have. We'll have the best. We'll have billions. Everybody will be a billionaire. People say, you want my house? Take my. I don't. Because Rabbi Shimon will reveal godliness. That's the Torah of Rabbi Shimon, to reveal infinite life in this physical world. Amazing. I don't think I really understand how it's going to be, but it certainly is going to be. There's no doubt about it. Says the Rebbe, let's just continue. Says the Rebbe, Rabbi Shimon said, Yochalani liftor et kol olam kulo miadin. We're on hay. Rabbi Shimon said that I can exempt the whole world from any sort of severity, any bad things. The Rabbi Shimon was able to learn merit on the worst sinners. And Rabbi Shimon was able to look and convince God that forget about being, how do you say, exacting with the Jewish people. Don't punish anybody because of their sins. This is even a bigger descent. Mita v'tuma, that Rabbi Shimon went into Taveri and revealed where dead bodies were. This is part of the creation from the time of the tree of knowledge. Doesn't come because of a person. A Jew, when he sins, is lower than death. Is lower than death. A person is dead. That's it. He's not doing any sins. That's the way nature is. Return to nature. A Jew, when he does a sin, this is worse than nature. It says even worse than a mosquito. Mosquitoes just take in, they don't give out. But at least they do what God tells them. A Jew, God tells us not to do sins. True, he gave us a Yetzer Hora and things like that, but God gave it to us, so we shouldn't do it. A Jew can decide on his own to do sins. That's the lowest thing in the world. There's nothing lower than that. It's lower than death. Comes along Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and says, I can learn merit even on these people. They don't deserve to be punished. But when a person does a sin, this is the lowest thing. A person brings by means of free choice. God wants a dwelling place in the lower. What's the lowest of the low? A human being, a Jew especially. Because he can go against God. A non-Jew can go against God, let's say 7 different ways. A Jew can go against God 613 ways. And then there's all the commandments of the rabbis. There's nothing lower than that. Comes along Rabbi Shimon, it says the lowest of the low, I'm going to tell you that he's really essentially good. I'm going to convince God that he's okay, don't punish him. The Im calls Yored Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai came down to the lowest of the low. Because if you want to really learn merit on the other person, you have to think about him and come down to this level and really find something genuinely good in him. In order to remove from him the severity. You read a zoo, this descent that Rabbi Shimon did, this is not like what God told Moshe, Lechred, come down from Mount Sinai, that he had to go down. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and himself, he chose from his own free will, liftoret olam kulam midin, to exempt all of the Jewish people from any difficulties, any bad judgments that God makes on them, no matter how much they deserve it. HaKoach v'ratzon, told Rabbi Shimon, this power and ability of Rabbi Shimon and his desire to come down from his own free will in order to come into the dirty, ridiculous lives of people that are sinners, the worst sinners, this came because what? He himself was so high. He was B'nai Aliyah, he was so high that that's the way highness is expressed. Sipur is all this story about about Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, like all the stories of the Torah, this gives us a power to each and every one of us, especially our generations, like we just finished learning in the Mimer that we merited, that they can learn, we can learn the Torah, the teachings of Rabbi Shimon. That's what Chassidut is. Yesh tzorich, we nowadays, what do we have to do? What Rabbi Shimon did. Spread out the deepest teachings. That's what God said to Eliyahu, the Mashiach, said to the Baal Shem Tov. And that's the seed that started the whole Chassidic movement. He said, when is Mashiach going to come? Baal Shem Tov, I'm going crazy. I want Mashiach to come. That should be us. That's where the Chassidus started. When's Mashiach going to come? We have to go crazy. What do we have to do to bring Mashiach? Anything. Figure something out. It has to be, let's look through the Sichas of the Rebbe. You have to do something to bring Mashiach. Every person in his own way. And the Mashiach answered, when your deepest teachings, your well springs, the spring, the source of water gets spread out to the furthest away places. Chutza, what does it mean? That means, it means joining the two polar opposites. You have to take from the river, not just the water of the river, but from the source of the river, the mayan, the wellspring, ulafutzu, and spread it out the furthest and furthest to the deserts. Bavare chutza, it says that's what the Mashiach said to Baal Shem Tov. You have to spread it out. Chutza means out to the point where there's no further out than that. It says, "Kolomer she'ein chutza mimenu b'yachas lepanim ezeshiyah." The furthest to the far, and there's take the Jews that are the furthest away from Torah and bring to them Torah mitzvahs. Here we see that there was in Russia, incredible. There were Jews in Russia, 4 generations, almost 5. I remember Professor Branover. They should have a speedy recovery. He said that there's no such thing as a Jew that's 5 generations not religious. After 5 generations, it's too much of a miracle. People intermarrying. So in Russia, there were Jews that were all 4 generations. Their mother wasn't, the grandparents weren't, the great-grandparents weren't religious. They didn't know anything about Judaism whatsoever. All of a sudden, Chabad comes along, they come back. Yafutzu ma'inatecha chutza. And who are these people of Chabad? They learned Chassidic, they learned what Atzilus is and the Panemius Ak and Panemius this, and before that Tzimtzum and all these different levels. And then they go and they talk to some guy in the streets that's just a criminal. This means this is the preparation for Atimar, for the coming of the Mashiach. Be at Mashiach Tzikenu. Shagam etzlo, that by the Mashiach, there will also be the connection of these 2 polar opposites. Yachad imzeh, namely the deepest of the deepest ideas of Torah and God, to the lowest and the lowest of people that are so selfish they're willing to hurt others in order for themselves. Yachad imzeh sheyilmad Torah, he will teach Torah teach Torah not only to these simple people, but he'll also teach Torah to Avram and Yitzchak and to Moshe. The Mashiach will teach Moshe Torah, and he'll teach whoever it is, Shoan or whatever, who knows what the guy's name is, the lowest place. V'yaso gam in dalim, even the lowest people, the poorest, like it says, v'shafet b'tzedek dalim, that he will judge. And it says, and where is this in the Zohar? It's Isaiah, that he will judge the impoverished ones with justice, until he will affect even the tzifoni in Tifl. He will even affect what is called the poisonous snakes. It says Yashamash Gadol. Even the poisonous snakes will come to serve Hashem. It'll affect everyone. Calls all this talui b'avodateinu. It all depends on me and you. Tzorech lachin. We have to make a generation that even the children will learn the Penimis of Torah, like the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said in his conversation with the Mashiach Shabbatorah, that it says in the generation of Mashiach, it will be like it was in Kavi Shahaya Bedoro, in the generation of Rabbi Shimon. The generation of Mashiach, people will know God like they did in the generation of Rabbi Mashiach. Also the children, it says children, the ones who are young on their passport, and also the children who are young at heart. Or also there's children is in a bad way, that he doesn't know anything, just like a little children doesn't know anything. Also, the older people that don't know anything, they will also know the Torah of the Rashbi. And by means of learning the Torah of the Rashbi, so then it says, Rabbi Shimon says that Kadai Rabbi Shimon lismoch alav v'shasa dachak. And that Rabbi Shimon, you can rely on him in difficult times. Kafisha Mavur appears, like it says in books, Shebashas HaMeitzah, that at the time when there is difficult times, namely this whole 2,000-year exile that we're in, we have to rely on Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, he is the one that's taking on himself. And if he joins with him, it says Achi Hashiloni, who taught him. Achi Hashiloni was also the same one who learned with the Baal Shem Tov, and thousands of years earlier, he learned with King David. He was King David taught him. I think maybe King David taught him. He was a pupil of King David, I think. Liftor et kol ha'olam min adin, to exempt the whole world from any severity. Ad Mos Mashiach, b'hai chibura dalach, that's what God said to Rabbi Shimon, with your book, Yifkon Bey Mina Galuta, the Jewish people will go out of the exile in mercy, in an easy way. that by means of the book of the Zohar, which is the inside of the Torah, the Jewish people will go out of the exile in the kindest and most merciful way. The world, Sheba'olam, that in the world will be revealed all of these issues of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, like we said before, was above the exile. He felt godliness, he felt infinite life all the time. And this will be drawn down into the whole entire world. Even the places, the lowest places that were impure from death, even in people that were totally sinners. It says that, like God says, Ruach Hatuma Avir Min Olam, the spirit of death, God will take away from the whole world. Even in this physical world, God will dwell. The whole world will be like the Holy of Holies. Not only for the Jews and not for the Levites, also for the Kohanim, and eventually also for the non-Jews. Yehudim kamosheim b'dargat atem kol echad v'atem kol echad mikem tiyuli mamlechet kohanim. Then it will be revealed that every single Jew is a king, royalty and priests. Who is the ultimate priest? God, Elokim Kohenhu. She'eretz Yisrael, that the land of Israel will spread out all to the whole entire world, and the whole entire world will become Eretz Yisrael, a dwelling place for Hashem. Dira b'tachtonim. Very nice. Now, story.